my name is Susan Elias, and this is my second YouTube video that I want to show you. We're going to actually block fabric and get it ready for a design. First we start off with muslin that we have here in a bolt. This is just basic fabric, unbleached, undyed, cotton woven fabric that we're going to use to actually make every design. This is how we start. We start with the raw goods. I'm going to show you how we prepare what we need to do for any kind of design that we want to actually execute. We start off with a mannequin that you'll see right here. Again, we're going to actually work on the right side of the mannequin, which is traditional, and I'm going to actually get the two pieces that we need to drape the front half and the back half. Before every design is done, we actually have to start this way. So this process you will use for every single design from start to finish. We'll take the mannequin that we have right here. The first thing we need to do is actually make sure that the piece of muslin that we're blocking will fit the mannequin that I have. We start off by measuring the top of the neck plate, down the center of the mannequin to the waist, and we add about 5 inches. So we're saying 24 inches here, so we have 19. We're going to now scope the side of the body. We're going to put the muslin that is going to actually drape this portion of the body. So we're going to measure from the side seam over the fullest part of the bust to the center front, and we're going to add 5 inches. So this is about 9 inches. We're going to add another 5 inches. So we're saying about 14 inches wide by 24 inches long. We find the crosswise grain that we need for the fabric. We have to establish that by finding the apex. The apex is the highest point, or the tip of the bust, on the side of the mannequin. We actually put a pin there so we can feel that particular mark is a very important mark. Everything is guided around that. And we come over to the muslin. You have to start by actually tearing a line. That's the only way you get an exact line. That means that when I tear on that line, I'm tearing on the actual fiber, and there's no problems with having a straight edge. So this muslin has already been torn, meaning the edge of the muslin has kind of a scattered look on it, but we actually tore the cross grain of the fabric. On the lengthwise of the fabric, you have the salvage. The salvage is a very tightly woven part of the fabric that goes all the way vertical, all the way along the fabric on both ends. The important thing to do is to know your lengthwise grain and your crosswise grain. The first thing we're going to do is measure from the top of the lengthwise grain, which is the salvage, which is parallel to the lengthwise grain. We're going to measure down from the torn edge to 24 inches. At 24 inches, I'm going to take the scissors and I'm going to cut about 1 inch. At that point, I can then tear this fabric all the way across. Tearing is just holding both ends of the cut edge and going all the way down the fabric. Okay, now we have this torn edge. So we have the entire width of the fabric and the length of 24 inches that we need. We also don't ever want to work with the salvage because it's a tightly woven part of the fabric that doesn't allow us to release the grain. So at that point, we're going to take off about 1 inch from the salvage parallel, and we're going to tear that part off. Now that I have 24 inches this way torn edge, I have this edge and this edge torn, and I have the lengthwise edge torn. We're now going to measure across because we need the width, and that's 14 inches. At 14 inches, I'm going to tear that as well. So I'm going to put the tape measure at 14 inches. I'm going to cut about 1 inch down straight, and I'm going to take the two edges and I'm going to tear it. Okay. So now we have this torn block of fabric, 24 inches long, 14 inches wide. Again, the lengthwise grain is the warp, the crosswise grain is the weft. It's very important to know the crosswise and the lengthwise grain. The first thing we're going to do is block it. We get an L square. This is an L square, very important. It has a perfect angle, and we want to put this across the fabric. We just line up the fabric right on top of it, just like that, and we're going to see if it is square. The way I do that is I'm just going to look at it this way. I'm going to flip it over and check out the other side. As I do this, I notice that it's a little bit shy on this side. It's coming in a little bit and it's a little bit longer here. All you do is take your palms and on a diagonal or bias, you pull to kind of bring the edge of the fabric out. When you pull a lot on one side, you've got to pull a lot on the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and pull on the other side. I'm going to flip it again to another part of it, and I'm going to keep checking to see that everything is square. And you keep doing this process till you get it as close as you can. When you feel that you're pretty close, then what you want to do is use a very high level steam iron to set the grains. Here I'm manipulating the grains so they're not straight, everything is buckling. I'm going to then set it with a steam iron to keep the grains in the spot that I have it. So now I'm going to go over to the iron. Again, this is the lengthwise grain, this is the crosswise grain. Just like if you're polishing wood furniture, you go with the grain. So we're going to take the iron, very, very heavy with steam, and we're going to go with the grain out and just lock in the fibers. That's all we're doing, is locking in the fibers. I'm going to go the other angle. You can go either lengthwise or crosswise. I'm going the lengthwise up. I'm going to use the other side as well. And we're just locking it in. Once you have all the edges done, you can also do it in the center of the fabric. Again, you want to just go with the grain. So just keep going straight up and down. Now I'm checking the grain with my L square again. I have my L square just set up there. I'm putting the fabric alongside of it, and I'm checking to see if there's any gaps or anything that's a little bit shy. Again, it's a little shy here. I'm going to do a little bit more adjusting. And you constantly do this same process. If you do it one side, you've got to do it on the other side so it is not too far off. Just flipping it and checking it as well till I have something I think is okay. When you're making a design on your mannequin, unless it's asymmetrical, meaning one side is different than the other side, we only work on one side of the body because we just duplicate it to the other side. So we work on the right side of the mannequin. We go from the very center front of the mannequin and the center back of the mannequin. So we're going to do the portion that works on the center front of the mannequin. The first thing I'm going to do is measure off on the right hand side 1 inch from the top edge. At this point, we're going to do something that's called pull the grain. There's 2 ways of pulling the grain. The first way is just actually putting your thumb with pressure on one side and actually putting the needle or pin on an angle going downward and having it drag along actually one of the fibers going lengthwise. So we do this all the way down till you feel that it's actually going and not skipping. If you feel again it's skipping, just go back to where you think it hasn't skipped and then continue. This you do all the way down the fabric. The other way of doing this is to literally take your pin and pull 1 grain out. This is somewhat unnecessary anymore, as long as you're able to drag it along. We need to fill in the line now where we pull the grain, because once we iron it, that will disappear. So with a straight ruler and your pencil on a slight angle, you just put it right into the groove that you've actually pulled out with your pin. This is just to mark your center front. At this point then, you take this 1 inch, you fold it back, and you press it flat. Steam. Again with steam because you're locking in the fibers when you do the steam. There's our center front, pulled back.